treasure trove, a kind of a giant warehouse filled with masterpieces. Within it, we find bits and pieces of direct and indirect evidence supporting our hypothesis of the lost civilization. We find, for example, little stone bowls carved from some of the hardest stones known, porphyries and granites and green schists and diorites, that are beautifully designed with narrow necks and hollowed in the center. Now, we could not, with our machine tools, produce these stone bowls, and yet they date from earliest Egypt, first dynasty, pre-dynastic Egypt even. The other finds from these periods show relatively simple pottery, fish hooks, combs, artifacts of that sort. So we are suggesting that it is just possible that these extraordinary bowls, which, as I say, we couldn't do today, are artifacts from that still earlier, highly sophisticated civilization. Left to themselves, if they're not destroyed, they're virtually eternal. They won't weather, they won't erode. There's nothing really to break them up. And so we're suggesting that, quite possibly, these were heirlooms handed down over the generations. What they were intended for, we don't know. All we know is that they're carved from stone. We could barely work today. We wouldn't know how to hollow them out. We don't know what they were used for, but there they are. Beautiful, elegant, mysterious. These are some of these remarkable stone vases. Some of the most spectacular are actually elsewhere in the Petrie Museum in London, and if you're at the Louvre, take a look, see what they have there. But you see what's involved here. I mean, this is perhaps the most remarkable. This one and this one. That's a porphyry, which is a impenetrable stone. You know, I mean, these things have hardnesses. Yeah, well, this one's relatively easy in the sense of hollowing it out. I mean, it's beautifully done, but you can see how you might do that with some sort of a hand drill. This is something else again, because it's hollow on the inside, and the thickness of the lip is pretty much the thickness of the walls. Same applies here.
Wow, so how would they...
That's the point, is that these things are perfectly formed. Nobody knows how to do it. We don't know how to do it today. And the point is that this is the interesting bit, these come out of either earliest dynasty Egyptian finds or pre-dynastic finds. In those Neolithic settlements, that's what you found, was very crude pottery and little fish hooks and combs and stuff like that. And then suddenly these things. So it was Paul Roberts, my friend Paul Roberts, who suggested, hey, maybe these are heirlooms from that earlier period, because it doesn't figure that if the rest of the stuff that you're doing are crude little pots, suddenly there's this thing involving a technology, and I mean perfectly geometric. I'm sure if you did a geometric study of these, you'd find golden section ratios and all sorts of stuff like that. I mean, these are complex shapes. I mean, it wouldn't be complex on a potter's wheel. And that's diorite. Well, these are all, that one's a green schist, that's a porphyry. These things are, you know, modern sculptors with machine tools would think twice before they attacked something like that. And if they attacked it, they'd be very hard put to get a finish on it like these. Look at that porphyry bowl. It's mind-blowing. So we're thinking that quite possibly these things are handed down because they're indestructible. As long as they don't break or you don't lose them, they're there forever. You leave them out in the weather forever and nothing's going to happen to them even. So this could be an intriguing part of the puzzle. And if it's not a part of our puzzle, then it's absolutely sort of inexplicable in terms of what else they found in these little Neolithic settlements. This is important stuff. The materials used, the stones used to produce these bowls, and also some of the other statues of Egypt, almost defy modern technology. There's a hardness index. The hardest mineral known is diamond, has an index of 10. Next is carborundum. Steel files have a hardness of 6. These stones are harder than steel files. The Egyptians are supposed to have had only copper tools to work these stones into shape. This is difficult enough, almost unimaginable, as far as the sculpture is concerned. When we come to hollowing out stone bowls carved of these materials, it beggars the imagination, and yet there are the bowls, and there are the statues.